Hey guys! So today we're going to talk about website templates, so let's get into it. Now, as you may suspect, this was a great subscriber question that I got just last week, and the person in question just wanted to have a little bit of a talk about templates. And for those of you who don't know what a template is, that's fine. You may not know this, but there's actually a very large community of very skilled web designers who spend quite a bit of time making template websites. So what they basically do is that it varies, of course, to the extent of what they're building. Think of it very similar to people who give away design content, like they make icons for free and put them on the internet, or WordPress templates or WordPress themes, And the same sort of thing here, where they produce HTML files and CSS files and maybe some JavaScript even, and they produce an entire website with just fake content that you can now use and put in your own content or style or modify the way that you want. So this person was asking a little bit about, so what should I think about when I look at this sort of thing? And I can tell you this, guys. For me, WordPress themes or WordPress overall and template websites and static content generators, that sort of thing, they fall into the same bucket. They have a very specific use case where I feel that it's appropriate to use these sorts of tools. WordPress, for example, is a great fit for using when you're building quote unquote a low customized website. A simple. I don't want to call it simple, because that kind of entails that a WordPress site can be complicated, and it can absolutely be complicated. But think of it more as a standard application that is going to be used by a certain type of person, and their customization needs aren't really that high, and they're not going to continue developing this thing. It's just a one-shot type of deal, and you want them to have a platform where they can administrate their website without you having to build the whole backend and like the whole administrative tool and all that stuff from scratch. So that's what I use that for. Static content generators, static site generators is a great fit for when you don't have almost no requirements on a backend or dynamic content or anything like that. You're just really you want to just show a static HTML file with styling and maybe some JavaScript. And you want to do that in the shortest amount of time possible. So for a wiki, that's perfect, or a personal blog, that's also perfect. That sort of thing, where you just show a page to the user, right? And finally, templates. Templates is a great way, in my personal experience, to, as a beginner, get a feel for how a website can be designed and how you can create certain effects and elements and so forth. Because the thing with website templates is that it's very tricky, I would say, today to get a good use case for a website template when, if you're using a website template, odds are that you are using it to produce a website for a very small company, because most of the larger companies, they have their own brand, their own styling, that sort of thing. It's very rare that you get to use a website template at the corporate level. It might be more common, as I said, it's the same kind of deal with WordPress and WordPress themes. For smaller companies, they don't really care so much. They're not as into personal branding. I mean, a small company usually don't have an entire team of designers sitting and just working on their branding, right? But the bigger companies do. So it's more common that I see people making templates for some already existing content management system like WordPress, for example, than they use than using template sites. But that does not mean that there's not a value in having a look at them. I will warn you and say this though. One thing that I think needs to be addressed here is the issue with using tools like these that I've just mentioned, and template sites is even going one further. So for me, when I talk to people who talk to me about WordPress, they want to ask about, can I use WordPress, or should I learn WordPress and so forth. They focus a lot on WordPress, but they don't talk so much about PHP. Same thing goes for Bootstrap. A lot of people who are learning CSS are asking me, oh, can I use Bootstrap for my designs, and can I use that for my website, and so forth and so forth. And I will tell you the same thing I tell everybody who's asking me about these sorts of tools. Of course you can, but you should be careful, because it may turn out that you're using this in order to enhance your own coding skills, and that may not be much of a problem if you can be responsible with the usage of these tools, because what you're in essence doing, especially with template sites, is that you are literally taking another person's finished product and putting your own content in there. And you might do your own custom tweaking and styling here and there to do certain things, but at the end of the day, you are simply, it's like literally taking somebody else's work. And for professional grade development, that is not going to work. And the dangerous part is that if you are, as a beginner, start using this more as a crutch than using it as a way of learning, you're going to cripple your own ability to produce content. It's the warning that I give everybody who wants to be a WordPress developer. I can promise you here and now that if you have no prior work experience, you're not a full-fledged software developer, and you go into WordPress development, you will not learn the skills most likely that you will need in order to do software development at the corporate level. It's unfortunate, but it is true, because the platform WordPress is already prepared to a point where it will not force you to learn the sort of things that you need to learn in order to create a web application from scratch. Bootstrap is a very similar story, where if you use Bootstrap in a naive way, you may learn how to use Bootstrap, but you may not learn how to actually make a responsive design from scratch. And what I can tell you is that although there are quite a few companies who use these tools, most companies, and especially at the larger scale, they expect you to know the underlying technologies. In other words, if you want to work with PHP, they expect you to know PHP, not WordPress. If you want to you work with CSS, they expect you to know CSS, not just Bootstrap. And template sites is taking that even one further, because now you have a completely finished website that you simply modify a little bit, which is, in my personal experience, perfect for learning purposes, or for someone who just you just browse around on these very nice sites where they have tons of these templates, and you saw, wow, that's really awesome, I want that for my project, and then you kind of just grab it for your own needs, right? So, to summarize, what I want you to take away from this is that template sites, just as static content generators or static site generators, that WordPress and Bootstrap and all these convenience tools, you need to use them responsibly. Specifically, if you use something like this, you should use it either for learning purposes or to speed up your own development process. But you need to be honest with yourself and ask, could I make this from scratch if I wanted to? Because if you can't, then you might actually be lying to yourself. You might be telling yourself, oh, I'm just using this because it's convenient. When in reality, what you're doing is that you're simply crippling your own personal development as a software developer. And only you can answer where you want to go with your career. But I will tell you this, the people who are professional grade software developers, the people who work at the really large scales, they learn these things the hard way, because it will make them better programmers. Have a great day.